So please feel free to follow along on whatever makes you happy. If there's anything in the world that brings you any sense of joy, please do. All week you guys have been delightful. My life is also in flames, but here we are. All right. Let's do Unit 6, Imperialism. Could we be more miserable?
Yeah.
You could? No. Okay, well, that's good. Glad to hear it. Imperialism is caused for two reasons. Imperialism is caused for two reasons. The first one is markets. All of these manufactured goods need to be sold somewhere. The example I gave you in class is toasters. Everyone in England already has a toaster, so they got to go other places to sell these toasters, yes? They're going to keep these factories producing at high production rates. The second reason is natural resources. So, of course, we have the traditional ways of the first industrial revolution, which is coal, iron ore, and all that stuff. But during the second industrial revolution, we have new needs for palm oil, tin, rubber. These types of goods are not located in Europe, and they need to be gathered in other places. And, of course, you have natural resources like gold, emeralds, diamonds, stuff like that. Okay, so when we talk about imperialism, those are the two major forces. We have European imperialism, which is going to be based mostly, if not entirely, in Africa and in the Indian Ocean basin. European imperialism is going to be spearheaded by the English and the French. These are the two countries that have the most, but who is the leader? English is the leader. England believes in indirect control, which means they allow some independence. In India, what would be an example of indirect control? Well, the Indians have some independence and some autonomy. What do you got, Catherine?
The East India Company?
No, that's British owned. Parker? Okay. Andrew?
Indian National Congress.
Yeah, the Indian National Congress, ladies and gentlemen. We also had some independence here in the United States where we had the Continental Congress. To a degree, we had forums where we could discuss issues. But then the Indian National Congress is an example of that indirect control. The French, on the other side, are direct control, and there is no opportunity to complain. The French are also going to be more culturally oppressive. They're the most destructive. Who is the perfect example of a French colony that you should try to reference as much as you can when you have to talk about imperialism? Scott? Algeria is the perfect example. If you're going to talk about British imperialism, who's the easiest? India. And if you had to, you could probably make some claims and get some good outside evidence for South Africa. Can we agree? With the implementation of apartheid, we have the Boer War, the Afrikaners, those types of things, yes? If you had to, you could kind of struggle there if you had to talk only about Africa. So these are the things I'm trying to connect to you. So, out of the two, who would you rather be controlled by, the British or the French? British. Other countries that you should be aware that are imperializing are the Belgians. And they are the worst, the Dutch. We have the Dutch, we have the Belgians. The Belgians are going to be the worst, and it is unique. What makes the Belgian Congo so unique, Henry?
It's owned by King Leopold.
It's owned by King Leopold II. It is a private colony. Private. It is owned by one man. And it has some of the worst atrocities. The atrocities are so bad there that what do the people of Belgium do? What do they do? Oh, God. Oh, no. What do they do? No one has any idea? They take it back from him. They remove it. Okay. We got a little ahead of ourselves, that's what. Okay. So, economic, and we also have Japanese imperialism. Japanese imperialism is because Japan is industrialized, and they are also an island nation, just like England, and they need those natural resources too. When we're talking about imperialism, there are 4 major motivations. The first one is economics, which would be the market and natural resources. The second reason is racial ideologies. This is where we're talking about all of this social Darwinism, okay? That white people are starting to really believe that they're far superior. Social Darwinism is a lovely piece of outside evidence for imperialism. It is the belief that since white people industrialize, they have the right to take over the rest of the world. Then you have cultural ideologies, and white people believe since they have accomplished so much, Greek, Romans, and all this European history, they have to improve upon the lives of these savages they come across. Eye roll insert. So, your white people think they have to go ahead and save all of these people from themselves and educate them. And then the third reason is religious. They're trying to save their souls. By stealing all their things, taking away their government, they're going to send them to heaven. Now, the only positive thing that does come out of imperialism is under the religious guise of schools. More schools are opened up in Africa and in the Indian Ocean Basin, as well as more medicine is reaching this part of the world, these parts of the world. Okay. When we're talking about it, we are talking about the building of new empires. Okay, so we are leaving trading post empires and we are now shifting into actual colonies. Okay, a trading post empire is when a country only collects taxes from countries coming into the port. They have no control over the government, culture, or anything else. They only collect taxes in a trading port. When they own the country, they control the government, the politics, the economics, the social, and the culture. They control every aspect. So, if you were an indigenous native, would you rather have a trading post or a colony? Trading post. It's less oppressive. It's not great because all the money you could be making you're not making because these white people are standing there holding out their buckets saying pay me. But it's not nearly as oppressive as a colony. Okay? So please keep that in mind. So when we're talking about the difference between a trading post and a colony, the colonies are way more oppressive, but the colonies are going to make way more money, which is why that's the preference. When we talk about the imperialism of Africa, you cannot mention it without saying the word scramble of Africa. Scramble of Africa is the division of Africa between 14 nations. Okay? These 14 nations are increasing tension, so they call the Berlin Conference. And it's led by one of the Germans, and who's the German? If it's too early for Hitler, it's gotta be Otto von Bismarck. Isn't it so weird? Everything comes back to that dude. Otto von Bismarck is going to call the Berlin Conference, and they sit down and come up with the rules. Why do they sit down and set up rules? What are they trying to avoid? What are they trying to avoid, Al? Yeah, they're trying to stop killing white people. You're not allowed to kill white people, but there is no limitation on killing Africans. Yeah, you can kill as many natives as you need to. Do you? But you just are not allowed to kill any white people. Okay? And this is how they divide up Africa amongst themselves. Okay? 2 countries escaped the scramble of Africa. The first one is Liberia, because they write the United States a beautiful note saying, we're so inspired by you, protect us. And we're like, oh my God, Liberia, we love you. And we say, don't take it over. So that's how they escape. And then Ethiopia. How does Ethiopia not have someone to take it over? I don't know what happened there, Dad. Okay, don't judge too harshly.
They fought off the Italians.
Yes, they fought off the Italians, but let's fast forward to Unit 7. What's going to happen in Unit 7? Ansley. Mussolini is what?
Gonna kill them all.
Yes, he's going to come back and invade because they embarrassed Italy in Unit 6. In Unit 7, Mussolini is going to punish them. Okay, the Boer War. People had a lot of concerns and questions about the Boer War. The Boer War is important for two reasons. It is really the only example of white people killing white people. It's really the only example during the Scramble of Africa that we have white people killing white people. The second reason why it's important is because it shows the brutality of the British by creating concentration camps for the natives, which will eventually lead to the apartheid system, if we're going to pull through. Okay. So, if you're going to talk Boer War, you have to be able to say Afrikaners. Afrikaners are Dutch descendants. These Afrikaners, what color are they if they're Dutch? They're white people. Okay, so the Dutch owned South Africa before the British did. So these white people have been living there for a long time. When the British come in, they are going to kick out these Afrikaners to the north. Still South Africa, but to the northern parts of South Africa. Well, when they get there, what do they find in the dirt? Gold. So what do the British want? They want the gold. So they go up and tell the Afrikaners to move a second time. The Afrikaners are like, hell no. So the Afrikaners and the indigenous are going to fight together against the British. But ladies and gentlemen, who's going to win? The British. The British are going to win. What's going to happen? White on white killing. Second thing is, the British are going to essentially put all of those people who opposed them, all the natives who opposed them with the Afrikaners, in concentration camps and try to wipe out any oppression. There you go. So, there you go. Woo. That's your Boer War. Okay. Congo. Congo is controlled by Pope. Nope. King Leopold II of Belgium. He owns the Congo. It's a personal place. He is going to make lots of money off of it, off of slave labor. And it's not just like slave labor, which is obviously horrific. I'm not trying to minimize that. It is a complete cheapening of the value of humanity. Slavery is horrible. People in the Congo were dying at incredibly faster rates than even in that of those in Brazil during peak sugar planting. That's how fast and brutal the working conditions were. And really what he is mining there is he is looking for gold and diamonds. And that's a lot of what is coming out of there. And he is brutal. It is the worst. He's also finding rubber there, which is very, very expensive. Okay. Asia. So that's it for Africa, for imperialism. Let's go to Asia. India, or South Asia. You need to know that the Mughal is going to fall to the British. Okay. They are going to take over India. It's not an entire. They're going to take over a majority of it, though. East Asia is going to fall to the British. Led by the British, but other countries are going to exploit it as well in the spheres of influence. Spheres of influence are created during the Opium War. Why did the British win? Okay, what causes the Opium War? We kind of had a little bit of it. What causes the Opium War? Probably the selling of what? Opium, which is a highly addictive drug. Okay, so it gets people into like crazy early deaths, completely sluggish economy. It hurts all aspects of life. People who reject their children. It's like a really nasty, nasty thing. Okay, so the British are purposefully selling Indian opium to the Chinese. The British are charging silver. So there's a huge exodus of silver leaving China. That's important because China for all the previous history, has been hoarding all the silver. Now the silver is leaving in droves to the British. Okay? The Chinese government's going to stop selling people this stuff. And the British are like, well, what are you going to do about it? And the Chinese are going to we're going to kick you out. And the British is like, okay. And then they show up in their gunships and literally blow up all the ports of China. And they say, I think we won. And China's like, yep, you did. And they sign unequal treaties. The Chinese military cannot compete with the British industrialized army and navy. So they are forced to sign unequal treaties. You cannot talk about spheres of influence or Opium War without just saying Opium War, spheres of influence, unequal treaties. These unequal treaties will open up the doors to other countries to exploit as well. Okay, and it essentially gives the Europeans rights to do anything they want inside China with no punishment. What dynasty is the one that's dying slowly at the hands of China? Parker.
The Chang.
The Chang Dynasty. The Chang Dynasty doesn't officially collapse until 1911. And who is going to give the Chang Dynasty its final blow in 1911? What do you got, Izzy?
Is it Mao Zedong?
No, Mao Zedong is after. L.
Sun Yat-sen.
Sun Yat-sen in 1911 will overthrow the final emperor of China. So, even though the spheres of influence are starting in the 1890s, we're really going to see that it doesn't actually die off until 1911. Okay, Japan. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know Japan is industrialized, please leave. They are an island nation and they need natural resources. So because of that, they are conquering territory just like the Europeans are doing. Except they're really brutal. Like really, really brutal. And I'm not saying that the Europeans are wonderful, but they're similar to the strategies of that of the Belgian Congo. They're really, really brutal. Okay? The French are doing a culture war. The French are trying to break the culture and force people. The British are pretending they're helping, but not helping. The Japanese are kind of modeling themselves after the Belgians and kind of just destroying things and enslaving people and doing terrible things. Okay. Southeast Asia. This area is now the hot topic or the hot place for the whole world. Everyone's trying to get here because new materials are found here. That is palm oil. Why is palm oil a big deal? What are we using it for, Parker?
Machine glue.
Yes, it is to keep the machines, keep less friction in the machines, okay? We're also using tin because now we have what type of cans? Tin cans, because we're now producing canned food. And we're also using rubber. Rubber is going to be used in tons of different aspects, specifically automobile tires and all of those things. Okay, so the Dutch are going to have some territory, but they're going to be losing a lot. The French really only have Vietnam. That's a huge deal. Vietnam eventually is going to be stolen, taken back from France by who? Ho Chi Minh is eventually going to take back the French after World War II. And the British are going to have a bunch of places in Malay. And you need to know Singapore. The British are building Singapore. And that is a major port for them and a major place of wealth. They're going to manage that and make lots and lots of money off of it because of the rubber and palm oil. Okay. American imperialism. Okay. American imperialism is all about the removal of the indigenous. And we're going to do this in many different ways. First of all, manifest destiny is a huge part of it. We believe, as Americans, we have the right to the whole continent, so anybody standing in our way is a problem. The second way we're going to do it is by Trail of Tears, which is how we remove the Cherokee under Andrew Jackson. Okay, we're also going to expand territory by purchasing land from Russia, specifically Alaska. And we're also going to just have a coup. In what place do we have a coup that becomes a state? Hayden. Hawaii, yeah. Huh? The pineapples. They didn't want to have to pay to import pineapples. So they overthrew the government. Dole. Next time you have a Dole Whip, just know, supporting imperialism. Here we go. Monroe Doctrine. You cannot talk about American imperialism without talking the Monroe Doctrine. You just can't do it. The Monroe Doctrine says what? What do you got? Gotta keep. I'm so glad you're here.
The Europeans can, the Western Hemisphere, exploit.
Yeah. We don't want Europeans coming all the way into the Western Hemisphere and exploiting Latin America because we want to exploit them, and will we? Yes, we will. So the Monroe Doctrine is telling people they cannot come and exploit. Perfect example will be the Mexican-American War, where we go ahead and we just take over territories. Okay, done. Perfect. Okay, Russian imperialism is really done by Catherine the Great. She is going to expand Russia to its largest borders, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and another example will be another example that you should be aware for Russian imperialism and tensions is going to be the Great Game. The Great Game is between Russia and England and Afghanistan. Okay, this is in like 1890 something. So the 1890s. What happens is Russia and Britain are like coming up on each other and competing, and it looks like everyone's gonna go to war. At the last minute, the Russians back down. It's called the Great Game because it's chicken. They're both pissing off each other, going back and forth. And eventually, the Russians back down, and everyone's like, oh my God, the world is safe. Woo, we're not going to war. What happens like 14 years later? World War I. Okay, so crisis has not been averted. I don't care about Australia at the moment. Okay. Here we go. Resistance to imperialism. You need to know every continent has resistance. No one is accepting the oppression. No one. No one wants it. No one is accepting it. Here in the United States, we have the Cherokee who are trying to get their land back. Okay, we have the Ghost Dance, which is the largest collection of natives in the history of the United States together. They believe by doing dances that they're going to bring back all the dead Indians from the history, and they're going to come back and kill all the white people for the first time. Was it successful? No, it wasn't. But it was the largest gathering of natives in the history of the United States, and it does not work. Does anyone know the second largest meeting? It was actually just recently with the protests over the pipeline is actually the second largest meeting since the ghost dances, in case you care. I mean, I wouldn't write it down. Just a fun fact for you. Okay. All right. So those aren't the big ones. Okay. So Sepoy Rebellion would be your next one. What year does it happen, Friar?
1857.
That's my girl. 1857, it's happening. Okay, it is against British imperialism in India, of course, because it's the Sepoys. Sepoys are Indian-born soldiers who fight for the British. Okay, we kind of talked about it in the Do Now. There's a rumor that the grease on the guns is either cow or pork, which is offensive to either the Hindus or the Muslims. And so there's a big stirring, and the British overreact. And it is the first time, this is what you need to write down, it is the first time the British are facing pushback in India. Okay? Does that mean they're going to win and overthrow the British? No. They're not going to overthrow the British until what Indian will lead the charge? Huh? Gandhi. Yeah, guys, like, how many Indians do you really know of historically? Yeah, Gandhi is one. He is going to lead it. Muhammad Ali Jinnah also lives during Gandhi's time. And why is he famous? Al? Two-state partition. Absolutely. Those are all happening at the same time. All of those movements would not have occurred without the Sepoy Rebellion. Yes? This is the origin of trying to officially move past the British, even though it's a failure. Okay, what's going to happen is we're going to have the Indian National Congress is going to be implemented after this, where the British say they will listen to the demands of the Indians. Do they? No, but it's a nice way to drag their feet. Okay. Philippines, I think is really important. Okay, here we go. So the Philippines, they're going to have a big movement where they're going to try to... Okay, let me try this again. So, the Philippines belong to Spain. Spain will lose the Philippines in the Spanish-American War. They lose them. So who gets them? America. America gets in the Spanish-American War. When the Philippines hear that America is theirs, they rejoice. Because we're the land of freedom. Right? So they think they're getting their independence. Except, what don't we give them? Yeah, we don't give them independence, and you need to know that. So, Spanish-American War, Philippines gets transferred to the United States. The United States gets control. The Filipino people are super excited because they're going to get their independence because Americans love independence. Except we take them over and we're like, yeah, about that. We're going to keep you a colony and we're going to exploit the hell out of you. So the people of the Philippines rebel, okay, under Jose Rizal. Okay? Jose Rizal is going to lead this massive propaganda movement about how America isn't actually the land of the free, unless you're white. Yeah, well, pretty on the nose, okay? Philippines are going to stay under control until they're going to continue fighting, but it's going to be a whole big deal. They're going to keep fighting for quite some time. I don't think we give it up until after World War II. I'm a little shaky on the date at the moment, but yeah, we're not going to give it up for quite some time. All right, Australia. So, I'm not really great on the Pacific stuff because there's just not a ton of it. But what you should know is that the Australians are dealing with the Aborigines, and the Aborigines don't want to be controlled by the white people, and they are fighting like hell to get rid of the white people. Eventually, who wins, though? The white people are going to win. Today, in 2022, how well recognized are the Aborigines? Yeah, they're suffering just like our Native Americans are. Okay. Are we just done with me? Was that helpful?
Yes.
I am trying. I really am.
I said yes.
I know you have a lot going on, all of you, and I am trying.
I know, I appreciate it.
Goodbye, my darlings. Bye, Cassidy. My pleasure.
Oh my god.
Logan, are you okay?
Yes, it's just annoying. Like, my nose is so fat and I was on my bathroom.
Bye, sweetie. Have a nice day.
Bye, Miss Bennett.
See you, darling. Did you take a walk yesterday?
I did take my dog off, and then I made chocolate croissants.
There you go. That's very healthy. Good. No, I'm glad.
It was nice.
I'm reading do well.
I hope so.
You are. Bye, sweetie. Have a nice day.
Bye, Miss Bennett.
Bye, sweetie. Have a good day. Thank you.